Every day, your heart is being shaped by what you see, what you hear, what you think, and who you let close to you. Most of this happens quietly, without alarms, without warnings, and the most dangerous part is this: you don't even realize the battle happening inside you. Evil does not always appear as something big or obvious. It enters through the smallest cracks: a thought you ignore, a feeling you entertain, a voice that says it's nothing, and before you know it, something pure inside you begins to fade. Yasmin Mogahed often reminds us that the heart is the center of your entire life. If the heart is strong, everything around you becomes easier. But if the heart weakens, even small problems feel unbearable. This is why protecting your heart is not an option. It is a necessity. Today you will learn 5 powerful lessons about how evil truly enters your heart, how to recognize its quiet footsteps, and how to guard yourself with strength, clarity, and sincerity. These lessons are simple. They are practical, and they can change the way you live from this moment forward. Let us begin. Most people imagine evil as something loud, dramatic, or unmistakable. They think it appears in the form of obvious sins or major mistakes. But the truth is far more subtle. The greatest harm enters quietly, through moments so small that you barely recognize their danger. Evil does not usually storm into your life. It slips in through the tiny cracks you forget to guard. It starts with a small feeling you ignore, a spark of jealousy, a moment of pride, a whisper of anger, or a fleeting temptation. It begins with a careless glance at something you should have looked away from, or a thought you let stay longer than it should have. It grows when you say to yourself, "It's nothing, it's harmless," or "just this once." Those tiny permissions become the doors through which darkness enters. Evil also finds room when prayers are delayed, when your heart becomes distracted, or when your spiritual routine weakens. The more distance you create between yourself and Allah, the more space you unintentionally give to harmful influences. When the heart is not filled with remembrance, it becomes vulnerable to whatever tries to occupy it. A seed seems insignificant at first, yet that seed, if watered by repetition, becomes a habit, and habits shape character. What starts as one careless decision can slowly become a pattern that affects your behavior, your thoughts, and eventually your identity. This is why protecting your heart is not only about avoiding big sins, it is about guarding the small openings, the eyes that can fall on what is harmful, the ears that can listen to destructive talk, the mind that can entertain unhealthy thoughts, and the company that can influence you without you noticing. Your environment matters, your thoughts matter, the people around you matter. Every small choice matters, because every small opening is an invitation, and whatever you allow in, even once, can eventually take root. To protect your heart, you must be intentional about what you allow into your inner world. Be mindful of who you trust, what you consume, what you listen to, and what you think about. Evil cannot control a person who guards these entrances, but it easily slips into the life of one who assumes that small things do not matter. In reality, it is the small things that shape you. It is the small things that either strengthen your heart or weaken it. Because what you allow in, even in the smallest form, eventually becomes part of who you are. Every heart has a natural source of strength. Just as the body cannot survive without food and water, the heart cannot survive without its connection to Allah. When that connection becomes weak, the heart becomes empty, fragile, and exposed to influences that slowly break it down. A heart distant from Allah does not collapse all at once. It weakens quietly. It begins with a small spiritual laziness, a prayer delayed, a dua forgotten, a moment of remembrance skipped. You tell yourself, "I'll pray in a minute, I'll reconnect later." It's just one day. But one day becomes another day, and slowly the heart begins to lose its light. Yasmin Mogahed reminds us that when the heart drifts away from its creator, it becomes soft in the wrong places and hard in the wrong places. It becomes sensitive to pain, but numb to blessings. It reacts strongly to people's opinions, but weakly to Allah's words. It becomes restless, easily shaken, easily tempted, and easily hurt. When the heart lives far from Allah, everything in life feels heavier. Problems seem bigger, disappointments hit harder, temptations become more attractive, negative thoughts become louder, the world begins to define your worth, instead of Allah defining it. You start searching for peace in people, attention, achievements, or distractions, but nothing satisfies you. The heart becomes like a thirsty traveler drinking salty water. The more it consumes, the more empty it feels. But the moment you turn back to Allah, even in the smallest way, something shifts. A single sincere sajda can bring clarity you have been missing for years. One heartfelt dua can open a door within you that you thought was locked forever. One moment of remembrance can soften a heart that was burdened for months. This is because Allah never abandons a heart that seeks Him. The distance is never from His side. The moment you move even an inch toward Him, He brings you closer in ways you cannot imagine. A protected heart is not a heart that never falls. It is a heart that always returns. It does not remain in darkness for long. It does not allow guilt or shame to push it further away. Instead, it recognizes its weakness, seeks forgiveness, and reconnects. If you want a strong heart, you must feed it with prayer, with remembrance, with gratitude, with sincerity, with moments where you stop everything and simply speak to Allah. The closer your heart is to Allah, the stronger it becomes. The farther it drifts, the weaker it feels, even if everything in your life looks perfect on the outside. Protection begins with connection, and the safest heart is the one anchored in its Creator. The heart is deeply influenced by the people you allow into your life. Whether you realize it or not, every conversation, every interaction, every shared moment leaves a mark on your heart. Some people strengthen you, while others slowly drain your energy and weaken your connection to Allah. Evil rarely enters your life through obvious doors. It enters through the attitudes, habits, and mindsets of the people you spend time with. You may think you are unaffected, but the heart is soft and it absorbs more than you notice. If you spend time with people who constantly complain, you will begin to complain. If you are surrounded by people who mock faith, your own faith will feel less urgent. If your circle normalizes gossip, sin, anger, or arrogance, you may begin to see those behaviors as normal too. This happens quietly, gradually, without alarms or warnings. The heart shifts because the heart adapts to whatever environment it lives in. Yasmin Mogahed teaches that your inner state is often a reflection of your closest relationships. When you keep the company of those who forget Allah, you eventually forget Him too. When your friends speak lightly about actions that are harmful, your heart eventually softens toward those actions. And when your circle treats life without purpose, your heart slowly loses its own purpose. But the opposite is also true. If you sit with those who remember Allah, you remember Him more. If you spend time with people who inspire discipline, you become more disciplined. If your friends respect their hearts, your own heart becomes stronger. A single sincere friend can influence your growth more than 100 pieces of advice. A person who encourages your faith, reminds you to pray, speaks kindly, guards their tongue, and respects their heart becomes a source of light in your life. And sometimes the greatest act of protecting your heart is stepping away from people who darken it. This is not arrogance, it is wisdom. Allah does not ask you to tolerate environments that damage your faith. You are responsible for who you allow into your inner world. You do not have to cut people off with anger. You can keep distance with wisdom. You can protect your peace gently. You can limit your exposure to negativity without hostility. Protecting your heart does not require hurting others. It simply requires honoring your own soul. Your circle is a mirror. It shows you what you value, what you accept, and what you will eventually become. If you want a heart that is strong, pure, and close to Allah, surround yourself with people who walk in that direction. Because no matter how strong you think you are, you cannot grow in a field that is poisoning you. And no matter how weak you feel, you will rise quickly when you place yourself among people who lift you. Choosing the right company is not just a social decision, it is a spiritual shield. The heart surrounded by good people becomes a heart protected from evil. The heart is influenced long before an action is taken. Every decision, every desire, every mistake begins first as a thought. What you allow to occupy your mind eventually finds a place in your heart, and what settles in the heart becomes part of your behavior. Many people underestimate the power of their inner dialogue. They think a thought is harmless because it is unseen. But one unhealthy thought, entertained repeatedly, can slowly reshape your character without you even realizing it. A single negative idea, if allowed to grow, can darken your heart more than an action ever could. Yasmin Mogahed often reminds us that the heart follows the mind's direction. If your thoughts are pure, your heart becomes clear. If your thoughts are toxic, your heart becomes heavy and restless. What you think about consistently becomes the lens through which you see the world. This is why whispers are so dangerous. They are subtle, they disguise themselves as your own voice. They try to convince you that no one sees, no one knows, and no one is harmed by what you're thinking. A whisper of doubt, a whisper of fear, a whisper of envy, a whisper of desire, a whisper of hopelessness. Each one seems small, but if you entertain them, they find space in your heart. When the heart is filled with negative thoughts, life looks darker. Problems appear bigger. Temptations feel stronger. You begin to interpret situations through fear rather than faith, through anger rather than patience, through suspicion rather than trust. But the same mind that can destroy you can also save you. A single moment of remembrance can interrupt a harmful thought. A single positive intention can shift your entire emotional state. A single verse from the Quran can replace a whisper with clarity. Allah has given you control over what you choose to accept. You cannot stop every thought from coming that is human, but you can choose which thoughts you allow to stay. You get to decide what takes root. When a harmful thought enters, you can push it away with remembrance. When a tempting idea appears, you can remind yourself of Allah. When an anxious thought surfaces, you can speak calmly to your heart. When negativity takes over, you can return to gratitude. Your thoughts are not random. They shape your reality. They build or break your peace. They protect your heart or expose it. They bring you closer to Allah or push you away from Him. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, taught that the heart becomes rusted and that remembrance is the polish that restores its shine. This means your thoughts must be cleaned regularly. You cannot leave your mind unfiltered and expect your heart to remain pure. Protect your thoughts the same way you protect your heart, because they are deeply connected. A clean mind produces a clean heart. A disciplined mind produces a disciplined soul. And a mindful heart becomes the strongest shield against evil. When people think of protecting the heart from evil, they often imagine complicated strategies, strict routines, or constant fear. But the deepest protection does not come from perfection. It comes from sincerity. A heart that is sincere with Allah becomes a place where evil cannot settle. Sincerity cleans the heart from within. It removes the need to impress others, the fear of judgment, and the pressure of pretending. When you act for Allah alone, your intentions become pure, and a pure intention is like a shield that blocks harmful influences. Evil feeds on hidden motives, ego, and insincerity, but it cannot survive in a heart that is honest with its Creator. Surrender is the second layer of protection. Surrender does not mean weakness or giving up. It means trusting Allah enough to let go of the burdens you were never meant to carry. A heart that surrenders does not panic when life becomes difficult. It does not feel destroyed when people disappoint it. It does not search endlessly for validation. Instead, it returns to Allah with its worries, its desires, and its confusion. Yasmin Mogahed often explains that the heart becomes heavy, not because of what happens to it, but because of what it tries to control. When you surrender your expectations, your fears, your ego, your anger, and your need to be right, you free your heart from the chains that make it vulnerable to evil. Evil grows in hearts filled with pride, resentment, and attachment, but it weakens in hearts filled with humility, trust, and truthfulness. When you say, Allah knows best, you defeat the whisper that says, you are alone. When you say, Allah will take care of me, you silence the voice that tells you to fear the future. When you say, I forgive for the sake of Allah, you break the cycle of bitterness that evil tries to fuel inside you. True surrender is active. It means turning to Allah even when you do not understand. It means trusting Him even when things hurt. It means choosing His guidance over your own impulses. And when your heart reaches this state, it becomes strong, steady, and difficult for evil to influence. A heart that is sincere and surrendered is not perfect, but it is protected. It may fall, but it never stays down. It may be tested, but it does not break. It may feel pain, but it does not lose hope. It is guarded not by fear or force, but by a deep awareness of who Allah is and who you are in relation to Him. Sincerity transforms the heart, and surrender anchors it. Together they create the strongest shield a believer can have, because a heart that trusts Allah and acts for His sake becomes a heart filled with light. And where there is light, darkness cannot remain. Your heart is the place where your faith lives, where your intentions form, and where your deepest battles take place. If you lose your heart, you lose yourself. But if you protect it, you protect your entire life. Every whisper, every thought, every influence either brings you closer to Allah or pulls you away. The strength of your heart is not measured by how perfect you are, but by how quickly you return when you fall, how sincerely you seek what is right, and how deeply you trust the one who created you. Remember this: a heart connected to Allah is a heart no evil can control. A heart that seeks Him is never left unprotected. And a heart that surrenders to Him becomes stronger than any darkness around it. So guard your heart with intention. Choose what you allow in. Purify what you hold on to. And trust that every step you take toward Allah is a step toward a safer, stronger, more peaceful you. Your heart was never meant to fight alone. Allah is with those who guard what He gave them,